focus on design, culture, and the business of creativity. Now say hello and welcome Carrie and Angel.
All right, welcome to Made in House. Hello everyone, my name is Angel Acevedo. This is a special episode of Guest House, where we feature some of our special friends, creative entrepreneurs, people that are crushing it in Miami. And so Kari will not be joining us today, so I'm not as nervous as I usually am when Kari's around. But before we get to our guest, I want to send a special shout out and a thank you to our members, House Nation, our housemates. Thank you guys for just supporting our project and believing what we're doing. Hopefully we're giving content of value. And, you guys are just donating your money to us, which is fantastic. Who does that, right? One thing that I did want to mention, last week we gave away a quote estimator specifically for members. I'm pulling it up right now. The client quote estimator. This is something that we've worked on for a long time while we were running the studio, Acevedo Co. And this helped us sort of gauge how much a project is going to cost. So it's free for members on the premium tier on the in-house creative, which is $8 a month. So if you want to grab that, all you got to do is join and make sure you download it and let us know what you think, if it works for you, if you like it, if you dig it. I'm sure you will. It's gonna be awesome. So let's get to it. I'm excited. This is actually my first time doing a guest at a Made in House. Gadi's usually the one that's handling the guest situation, but this time I get to have my first guest, someone special friend of ours and someone that we've given our money to, and that has helped us a lot in our projects. His name is Chris Algaze, Algaze, All Blaze, All Day. Chris, how's it going, brother?
I like that. That could be my new rap name. All Blaze, All Day.
All Blaze, All Day.
I'm gonna make a comeback after 20 years and come rapping as All Blaze, All Day.
We were just talking about that offline. Your rap career, but why don't you introduce yourself to the creatives that are watching?
Which one am I looking at here? Boom, boom, boom.
You're looking at this one right here. That's them. This is all your people right here.
All right, my peoples. My name is Christopher David Algaze, just better known as Chris. I'm the owner and operator of Grizzly Print Parlour, and that's pretty much a little bit about me. I'm here. I'm excited to be part of this. Known Angel and Kari for a very long time, and excited to actually partake in this. And just hearing what you're doing with this podcast is super sick. I think you guys have a great platform. You guys look super natural in front of it doing it, like I just mentioned to you guys.
Let's go.
And hey, what you're doing right now with the members, that's pretty sick. Like a quote estimator, dude. I wish I had that. That's a nice one.
Bro, we'll give it to you.
How do I get it?
We'll give it to you. We'll give it to you. You just gotta go. $8.
That's pretty cheap. That's a pretty cheap estimator.
That's what I told Kari. I was like, we actually have a lot of really good resources, but for the prices, like, you know what? Let's just give it.
That's great.
We'll get it.
That's an amazing resource to have for people. So sign up, get that.
Absolutely. Thank you for the plug.
Super needed in this industry, or anybody creative is sick.
Absolutely,
man. I'm down with that.
Absolutely. I want to send a special shout out also to Vicky Bakery, but that's not sponsored. It's not sponsoring us right now. As you can see, Vicky Bakery, we got some goods. When you're a guest at Made in House, you get some goodies. And I think I got some pastelitos and stuff.
We can get a sponsorship after this one.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
Let's make sure we tag them in the stories, guys.
Yeah, help me get a sponsorship. Vicky Bakery, your sponsorship. Anyway, if you don't know Chris, it's a little too humble, but Chris has been around here in Miami. I think you were raised here, right?
Yeah, born
all your life, born and raised. But not only that, not only is he a Miamian, he's a legend in the industry in the sense of the business that he runs, Grizzly Print Parlour. Miami, as you know, Miami is very small.
Sure.
It's big, but it's small.
Yeah.
But everyone that's worked in the industry knows about Grizzly Print. And they do incredible work, incredible silkscreen print work.
Appreciate that.
From apparel to even paper goods, which is awesome. And I'm excited to chat through, and I want to hear your story, how you got to where you got, and now that you're running a successful business, what that even looks like and some of the challenges. So we're going to get into that. But first, I'd like to know, at least from on your end, I know your story has different. So let's say a roller coaster of different things have happened throughout your life. Yeah. But I kind of want to know how you got to where you were able to open up Grizzly Print. Yeah. What were you doing before, or what interested you to even open up your own shop? How did you even get there?
Interest. I mean, I was never interested in starting a business or opening up a business. It kind of happened out of necessity, really.
Yeah.
Just life circumstances that kind of led me to that point where I had to just like figure out what I really like that I can actually make some money and value out of. to help me survive and get to the next step. So try to cut the story a little bit short, but in essence, I've always been interested in just art as a kid, obviously, like most of us. I can remember even as early as back as like elementary school drawing like Bart Simpson everywhere. That was like my go-to drawing. Like the little French fry hair that he had was like the easiest to do, and I have like my kindergarten yearbook with like Bart Simpson drawings. You know what I mean? So that type of stuff just always intrigued me, and I just was always into it as a kid, and got super. I would say when I hit like the 4th, 5th grade, like in elementary school, I mean, all I cared about was drawing. I wasn't really great at school, to be honest. I was just like drawing on all my books and looking for pictures in books and tracing my encyclopedias, and like that's really what I was interested in school. I was never really cared for anything else but that. But as I got a little bit older in 5th grade, I had a teacher, an art teacher that was really, really cool with me, Miss Davis. I actually should go visit her soon because
that's awesome. Man.
I know she's still around, and I have some other teachers that I follow on Facebook that are always like, man, you should go see her. She'll remember you, and I don't think she ever will, but teachers do remember. So she was huge in as I was a kid, because she was just like a great art teacher that just pushed you to just do art, where it's just like very hard to do now. Like I don't think there's much of that around anymore. Right. But anyway, she plugged me into, when I was going to middle school, I was going to Hammocks, and Hammocks Middle School, which is a middle school here in Kendall. Shout out.
Which I thought you were from Westchester, but you're not.
Yeah,
no,
brother. West Kendall all day.
West Kendall all day. 331
3318696.
Oh, 96.
Yeah, Kendall Lakes. It gets a little mixed up around there.
Is that by Chrome?
No.
Oh no.
No, this is like 147 in Kendall.
Okay, got it.
Around
For
there.
people that don't know, in Miami we started building.
Yeah.
And they call it Westchester, or they call it, and then it started getting more west, and then it was West Kendall, but there's areas even farther west.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, that's still a debate, bro. People are still debating right now on Instagram about where West Kendall ends and starts, and it's forever changing, because it just keeps growing, it keeps moving, and like where the boundary used to be now is anymore, and people are like, no, this is not that. It's funny. It's funny that's how we are here, man. I remember we're kind of petty.
South Miami was South Miami, and now there's like deep South Miami. It's like,
and then we're like SoMe, and then we have all these other places. Like It's just Miami for us.
No. I know. Sorry, but go ahead.
It's all good. So, where was I? So, that teacher, she plugged me into, as I was going to 6th grade, to get me to like an advanced art program, just because that's like all I cared about, and I was really just getting good at it, and I was just bored at everything else. So, going to middle school, I was the only 6th grader in the advanced art program in middle school. So I was surrounded by like 7th, 8th graders, and I was like really the only 6th grader there. And I was really interested in like what I was doing, but I got bored quick. Honestly, like the same black and white painting, the same color theories, like the same, stippling and cross hatching and stuff that I was already like, I've been doing it. And even by that age, I was like, what else can I do? So naturally, being like kind of like somewhat of like a rebellious kid, like I gravitated towards like, hanging out and doing more like graffiti and going out, and that was just like the natural progression for, just because I was into more just like hip hop culture and skateboarding and just like streetwear and that kind of like world, that I migrated more towards the street art than like the fine art.
Was this the 90s or what?
This was 90. I'm born 84, so I'm trying to do the math right now. But 6th grade, how old are you? 6th grade, you're like 12, 10?
12, yeah. So like mid to late 90s.
Yes,
around that time.
93, 94, 95. And then by like late middle school, it was 97, something like that. Yeah. So by like, I don't know, I took that art class, and like I said, I was gravitating more towards, the graffiti and that, and not really like the fine art world, and just to like do something different. So I started getting into like caricature drawing and like the guys with the baggy pants and the beanies and the laces, fat laces, and I really started getting into like animation and like
that's cool.
cartooning. So I felt like that's where I was gonna kind of go towards. So that was kind of the trajectory for a while, and kind of like always had that like for art in that world. I was never really into like fine art painting, and it never really interested me too much. And then as I got into like high school, I didn't do too much. I took a couple art classes, and then I got to a point where I was failing miserably at school, and I took I had to graduate in the summer. I wasn't graduating with I was
wow.
failing bad, like, and I was like, all right, well,
Yeah.
you're not gonna make it. So I started like I had to graduate in the summer. So I took
What high school was it?
at Braddock. I went to Braddock.
Braddock.
Yeah, I went to
We
Braddock.
called it a prison. We called Braddock a prison. Braddock. I'm giving people context. Braddock was a school because it's Braddock over here. It's on the west side.
It's on in between Bird and Coral Way on 147.
Right, and 147,
Yeah,
right?
by Lake
So I'm
City,
from
right.
Southwest. Shout out to the Eagles, Purple Pride.
Yeah, that was a
And,
beef right there,
yeah,
bro.
Yeah, that was- and but the cool thing I heard about Braddock was that this is what I heard. This is when you talk about in high school. It's like it's like
It's like
enclosed.
enclosed, yeah.
But then you guys had like actual restaurants or something like that inside.
No.
You
Well, I mean,
never did?
we had Papa John's and Subway inside. That's it.
Inside, yeah. But I mean,
That's
for
it.
for us, I was like,
Sure.
we would get like Pizza Hut delivered pizza,
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
you know, and they would sell it or whatever.
Yeah.
But to us, it was like, oh my god, they got a.
There was
Papa
only
John's.
one way out of there. So there was like
Wow.
in the art class, the
Yeah.
teacher she was a hippie, dude. She was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
she
yeah.
didn't care about anything. So if you had her class, she was attached to like the faculty parking lot. So
Oh,
that's where she
wow.
would let people leave. So that was like that was the escape to go get food and come back.
Yeah,
There was
yeah.
a McDonald's there, you
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
And Winn-Dixie. So that was like the escape to
That's cool.
to,
man. That's
to
cool.
go get food. So her class was really fun. So I actually took her class, not because she let us skip, but you know, she's just like she was a really cool art teacher. So I took that in the summer. I needed to graduate, so I took an art class again, and I was
Wow.
like,
Interesting.
man, yeah, I took art class, and then I took like a fashion production class, and it was like really was the only other like thing that I can take that I was remotely interested in, and it was cool because it taught me how to like. I made some beanies. I made some like pajamas. I made like
Dude, sick.
You know, I learned like some basics of sewing and fabrics, and I was like, this is really cool. I was literally the only guy in the class, but it was like I took it and I was like, I'm gonna just learn this. Like what you know, it wasn't what I expected, but I really liked it. You know what I mean? So I picked up a couple little techniques, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like stuff that I can honestly still use to this day. I may not know how to like sew a complete garment anymore, but I can hold off a little bit on doing a couple things with the sewing machine. So
Right.
I really enjoyed that, and then I really should have focused more on school. I wanted to go to the Art Institute. You know, that was like obviously my goal, and I was but I was messing around and just doing stupid stuff that I really wasn't too focused on school like most of us.
As you do.
And I should have focused on trying to get a scholarship, and all that stuff, and that didn't work out. But a couple years after, so I graduated in 2002. So in 2004. I was like, man, I took a break from school and like I got to do something. Like I got to get in school somehow. So I actually did my portfolio and a couple of things, and I actually got accepted to the Art Institute when they first changed from IFAC to the Art Institute down on Biscayne and 15th.
Yeah.
And I went for motion graphics and motion graphics, yeah.
Motion graphics, yeah.
Yeah, motion graphics.
Yeah.
Man, and I hated it. To be honest, like I didn't really like it because I was doing the same thing that I was already bored of. Instantly, they put you into like black and white painting, shade,
Right.
color theory. The same thing that I'm like, dude, I've literally been doing this my whole life like every other artist. Why do I have to do this again? I showed you my portfolio. That's
Right.
how I treated it.
Sure.
Maybe the wrong way to treat it, but
Sure.
as a creative, that's how I was kind of frustrated. I was like, man, this is back to square one. Like, when do I get to the good classes? And I lasted like 4 months, and I was
wow.
like, yeah, and I was like, man, I can't. I wasn't really connected either. I was like, I lived far. I was taking the train there every day. At that time, I was, hanging out with friends,
What
doing
was
dumb stuff.
located? Wait, where were you living at?
So I was living in West Kendall. And I was taking the trip. I was taking the Metro Rail. I was going to Dayland, taking the Metro Rail every day to 15th and Biscayne.
Yeah.
And then where the Omni is.
Yes.
And then taking that back, Dayland, going back home. And I was working 2 jobs at the time.
What year was this?
This was 04.
04.
So-
Because I started going 06, 07.
Okay.
So I missed you by a couple years.
Yeah. So you went a little later than I did.
Yeah.
So I did that, and man, they actually had like a really good fashion design program.
They did.
And while I
Yes.
was there, I was like, I should have done that. You
Right.
know, like that's where I was like,
You
I
don't
was
think about it.
Yeah. When I got there, I was like, damn, I should be doing this. Like this is kind of
Yeah.
something I like a little bit more. And really, what threw me off the most about it was this was like really like the beginning of like Vector and Illustrator.
Sure.
And as like an artist who's used to like drawing and sketching, and like I was going really for animation. And animation is like drawing and changing pages, and I was like, they threw me on a computer and was like, all right, this is how you do points. And I was like, this is not for me. I instantly was like, it was too transitional for me. It was too much like, this is something I've done my whole life, what I love to do, and now you're telling me I have to do it like this. And it just, the rebellious part of me, I was like, this is why I don't want to do this.
It's a big, I guess, shock.
It was a huge shock. And not only that, I just wasn't the type of person to like, I didn't want to learn a new skill. I really wasn't that dedicated to want to learn a new skill like that. So, unfortunately, like, again, I was working 2 jobs. I was living with a bunch of roommates, and you know, all we were doing was smoking and doing dumb stuff. We weren't really involved in anything healthy at the moment. So my mind state really wasn't there to be thriving at school. So I dropped out.
And to be fair, I feel like this is your 20s, right? I mean,
I was 20.
Yeah,
2021.
Dude, that's what
Young.
the 20s are for. It's like you make all kinds of dumb mistakes, and you don't necessarily have the foresight
to
see at 30 or whatever.
No, you don't.
I can learn this new skill because then I can introduce it into something else or whatever. Then, because I've been through that as well, is that you're just kind of thinking of the now or the tomorrow. And you got 2 jobs, you got to pay rent, you got to whatever. I don't want to have to, and I'm paying so much for the school, and you don't necessarily have that vision.
You don't.
As you do now, you know, when you're older. But to play a little bit of devil's advocate, like, I understand.
It's true. When you're young, you just don't know. Like, I didn't. That's why I waited to even go to school, because I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. And then when I did it, I was still kind of like iffy about it, and then not like learning what I wanted to learn instantly was like a reason for me to back out, which, hey, you never know what it could have benefited me to be there and learn it. Like, I probably would even be able to use even more skill that I can apply to what I do now if I would have stuck around. But obviously everything happens for a reason. But you know, that was just, it was, you're young. I was 20 years old, dude. I don't know. I think about 20-year-olds now, and I'm like, these guys are clueless. I was clueless. I thought I knew what I was doing, but you know what I mean? Like, it's true. You know, you don't really know what you're doing. You think you know it, but you don't.
I feel like the only difference, or maybe this is just because I'm like a borderline boomer now, but I feel like younger people now or Gen Z, the youths, they have so much at their disposal now, and so many assets and resources, so much software. There's AI now, stuff that help you, propel you. That it's so much easier than it was then. I feel like then it's like you had to learn all this software, and you had to grind, and now you could do it from home. Now you can get classes at home. And the Art Institute, not only was it expensive, it was far. You know, it's like
expensive was the first thing that held people back, really.
Yeah. And it was I think my tuition was, because I went all the way. My tuition was $90,000.
Yeah.
And then
scary number.
But I did it
as a 20-year-old, that's a scary number, dude.
I mean, and then when you sign paperwork, you don't know what you're signing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I had a scholarship, because I had a scholarship, so 50% was paid.
Yeah.
But still, bro, there's $50,000 or whatever, you know. So, anyway, not to like. I think dropping out is. It would have made sense at the time.
Sure, I'm not encouraging dropping out at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of people that went to art school and thrived tremendously at it. I've just never been the academic type of person. Yeah. Like, I just was not there. You know, so. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out for me. So yeah, man. So I got out of there, and then I just really didn't do much in that world for a while. Again, I was just involved in some dumb stuff. And while I was in, you know, I did skip a couple steps. While I was in high school taking that fashion class, I did dabble in some t-shirts at the beginning. That's just kind of where at that time I was learning early Photoshop. This was like Photoshop like C1 or whatever, version 1. You know what I mean? Like 97 or whatever. I don't even know what year. I think it was like 97, 98, right? Something like that. It was,
I started Photoshop 6, which was in 2000. So it must have been like 4.
Sure.
Photoshop 4.
So I just started like messing around there, like learning it a little bit, doing like club flyers and stuff like that. Which people were doing, you know, I'm sure you
I did club flyers
too. So that was like, you know, for like raves and stuff. That was what people were doing. So I was kind of learning how to use the lens flare and all this,
Miami,
weird.
Bro. That's
this is super Miami, dude.
Yeah.
So I started learning that, and I was like, man, like I was always into like graphic t-shirts. That was just like at that age, even through like the middle school era before getting to high school, like I was super into like Stussy and Massimo and hookups and, you know, just like tribal gear and just like graffiti-based street clothing and that kind of urban clothing at that time, what it would be considered like early era of streetwear.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was it considered? I don't think it was.
I mean, streetwear started building around that era, but at that time it was just more just like
Stussy, right?
It was like that was like the beginning of that, really. Yeah. So I was always interested in that. So what I started doing was, I had no idea how to do it, but I would take my drawing. So I started drawing, like, I don't know if at this time there was like, it was really popular to have like shirts with like the Thundercats on them or like the Transformers, you know, like it was a really era of that. So I was doing like shirts with like Popeye on them and like Kermit the Frog and just like, and then I started a little thing called Mind Tricks, which is just like a name that I came up with, and I just like scribbled it in like my marker, you know, whatever tag. put it on Photoshop, messed with it, and started throwing little images on them.
You have any of
And
that?
then
You have any of that?
I have it on a hard drive.
That's sick, bro.
Yeah, I have it on.
It's like 20 plus years, right?
Yeah.
What's the timeline? 20
Yeah,
years
20,
or something?
It'll be 20 years. Like 07, 06.
Dude,
Yeah.
insane.
Before that, honestly, wait. This is 97. Yes. So yes, more
97.
than 97, 98. Yeah. So more than 20
07.
years.
That's
yeah.
20. I don't know what the math is.
Yeah,
3
20,
years?
40,
I don't know.
25 years,
Yeah.
25
Holy,
years.
wow.
So I started doing that and just throwing the little tag on it. And
Sick.
then I made some for a couple of friends. It's not like I really made too much money off of it, but I would just like, I wore one and then somebody was like, and I really just went, I didn't know how to do this. So I went to Office Depot and I bought some like the sheets of iron-on transfers. And I printed them on an inkjet printer. I cut it out by hand with scissors. Put it on a shirt, and it looked like trash, but it didn't wash.
But it was
that
cool,
was
right?
it was cool, and like
you made it. You made a thing.
I made it, and it was like I was like, man, this is how I love to put my art on stuff. Like I didn't care for painting like that in large scale. I wasn't buying canvases and paint like most people were doing that. And if you were considered an artist, that's what you're doing, and I just wasn't into that. So to me, it was like, man, that's how I like art. Like I love fashion, I love clothes, I love, like to be able to put that on a shirt, it's super sick. So I really like got a real liking for it. So when I took that plus a fashion production class, I was like, dude, this is maybe something I can do one day. It's just for fun, but whatever. So that rested as I went to college, and that didn't work out. And then I took a pretty big gap until like 07. In 2007, I got involved with like some friends just doing some super illegal stuff. And I got arrested within that time in 07.
Wow.
Me and 26 other guys that were
wow.
along my side. Yeah. Guys that were working for me, friends and other people. So
Yeah.
huge organization that we had going on. It's for episode 2 to talk about.
Yeah.
Need to say we all got arrested the same night, 6 a.m. one day. So I did about 8 days in jail and then going through trial for about 2 or 3 years. So within that period,
Sucks,
I was, a lot of things happened within that story. I was able to go home on house arrest I spent 3 years and 8 months on house arrest.
Wow.
And then 5 years on probation.
Yeah.
So within that time in house arrest was really like a time where just reflect and like figure out what I can really do with my life. At that time, right when I had gotten arrested, I dropped out of college. I really wasn't doing anything creatively. I was trying to figure out really my life. I was 21 years old, turning 22. I was working at a veterinary office that was close by in the hammocks. I was trying to become a dog trainer or a vet tech there. I was just trying to figure my life out, really, stuff that I liked. I love dogs. I love training dogs. So I was like, let me try this, Right. And when I got arrested, they fired me, and they're like, yeah, I don't care. We don't want you here. So I was like, all right, this is a rough one. So it was a real life change for me when I was on house arrest because I really had no job. Couldn't work. And I needed to figure something out. So I had a felony record at this point. I couldn't apply and get jobs anywhere.
Wow,
I couldn't, so I started getting permission through the court to be able to go out and look for a job. They'll give me like a certain time where I can leave and I can actually go look for a job. So I would tell them, hey, I'm going to be out on the street from 10 to 2 and I can go, and I have to show them proof that I was like looking for jobs, whatever. And I couldn't get a job. I had a felony record. So I just was like, man, what do I do here? You know what I mean? So within that time, man, like I was just like changing my life, and God was really like working in my life to like just go back to my roots and like clean up some of the stuff that I was doing and just refocus. And honestly, just realizing that I really had to figure something out. Like there was no way forward unless I did something for myself. Like nobody was going to give me a job. Nobody's going to hand anything for me. I literally was picking the pieces back up, obviously with the strength of God behind me and my family and supporting me to do something. So one day I was like, man, what can I do? What do I really like that I can really make some money off of and like, help me get to do something. So, I was like, man, I love t-shirts. Like how do I make t-shirts? Like I legit was like, I had so much time on my hand. Everybody was working. Everybody was involved in stuff. And I'm literally stuck in my room. Can't leave my house. Like, what do I do? So I just started like brainstorming, and I was like, man, maybe I could, do some t-shirts. How can I do this? So I started, this was like early YouTube, early Facebook. MySpace was just ending or really thriving at that point.
Yeah.
And I just like really got hooked on like, researching and trying to find some stuff. So the biggest influence for me to like, that I can trace back to that got me wanting to do this was, there was like on hypebeast.com, there was forums back then. Was like forums were huge, forums and blogs were like really like the main form of like education if you weren't in school of giving you any type of information. To me, that was my schooling, to be honest. So I really got like obsessed with like the forums, and there was a forum specifically on streetwear and clothing and learning how to print and garments and choosing different materials and what to look for and printers and, you know, all this stuff that I just consumed it all and absorbed it all. And I was like, man, I want to do this. Like, I think I can do this. And I was like, at that point in my life, my perspective changed on like, I just became a person that just like, I have to take a risk. Like, I wasn't built that way. I wasn't raised that way. Nobody in my family is like that, to be honest. Nobody in my family is a business owner. And I just was like, man, I just got to figure out, you know, I'm just going to do something like this. So actually, one of my really close friends, Adrian Afon, I don't know if you guys know him, but shout out to Adrian, brother. I love you.
Let's go.
He really was like my best friend. And, you know, I'm the type of person that I'm always been about community. I've always like think that I'm not a solo person. I'm not a person that like thrives on their own. Like I'm about like cliques and groups and crews ever since I was like a kid, from graffiti crews to rap crews to just like friend groups. Like, I don't know. There's something powerful and energy about, you know, groups and just like people that connect, you know, with each other. So, I pretty much pitched to him an idea of like, yo, I want to do like a clothing brand. Would you be into it? I mean, he thought it was crazy. He was like, what? I'm like, dude, let's do this. We can come up with a name and we can do, you know, we can sell some shirts. We can sell them to our friends at church. We could, you know, give them to the guys that rap. You know, we can kind of like see what we can do. We have a lot of people that support us, and it was like a crazy dream. And he was like, all right, whatever. Like, he just was like, he almost dismissed it. And like, not that he doubted me, but just like, another fun thing. We've done so many things that we just came up with that it was like, all right, we'll just do it. It didn't think it was going to mean anything. And we started brainstorming, coming up with some names. And then I did some like research on my own. And then I would just pitch to him like, yo, look, we can do this. I showed him the blog. I showed him the forums. Like, yo, we can do something. And he got more and more excited with it. And man, we actually just started like building. We came up with a name called Fresh Wisdom, and it was like the first brand that essentially I started after that, Mind Tricks, which really wasn't a brand, but this was actually something we took super serious. So we started gathering our thoughts and seeing what we needed, and we were like, yo, what, you know, how can we actually do this? And he really entrusted my idea and vision that he was willing to like fund it, in a sense where I had no money. I was on house arrest. You actually have to pay to be on house arrest. I had no job. My parents were paying for me to be on house arrest and pretty much supported me at the time, at 22 years old. So we came up with that concept. We came up with a name, some ideas, and man, he would come over every day. I was literally on house arrest. I couldn't leave. He would come over and we just brainstorm and sketch out. And, you know, we bought a Wacom tablet on eBay, started figuring out how we can translate my drawings onto Photoshop. We both started learning Photoshop a little bit more efficiently, just clicking buttons and what does this do? What does that do? And we both were self-taught, really. Like, I didn't learn that in school. I learned it on my own. So it was just, oh, this one, erase, go back, go back until we figure out like, okay, we can actually like do something cool. And we put, a little like list together of stuff that we needed to buy. And I ended up coming across something called the Easy Print, which was like pre-emulsion sheets of paper. They were like just 12 by 8 by 10 sheets that you can expose in the sun and print it onto like a t-shirt. It was like a super DIY form of like printing t-shirts. And I was like, this is better than the iron-ons from FedEx. I mean, from what's it called, Office Depot or whatever. So let's try this.
And that was before the Cricut. That's kind of like similar to the Cricut.
So coming across the Easy Print was super cool. It was obviously a better option in doing printed transfers on t-shirts. So it was like the closest that we can afford to, screen printing. Obviously a screen printing setup was crazy expensive, and we obviously didn't have that much to fund it. So we started with the Easy Print, which essentially was like a
Cricut, pretty much.
Not really. It was a Cricut is like a vinyl printer. So what they're pre-emulsion sheets of what would be the mesh of the screen. So it's essentially a screen for screen printing without the frame. So it's just like the mesh, the actual mesh. Right. And it has, instead of you coating it with emulsion, which is what you cover the screen with to make your stencil, it already comes pre-emulsion. So they come in like these black sealed bags that are light sensitive. So you can't open them because they will expose. So it came with that and a little cardboard with magnets and a black sheet that was a little glass. mimicking what an exposure unit would do to make your screen.
Are they still available now?
I don't know. This was like honestly like some lady selling some Etsy type of setup.
Oh,
to be
gotcha.
honest, it was not like a big thing. It was a super random website that I came across through eBay that was selling this thing that was like the only affordable option. That it really wasn't super efficient, but it really teaches you the basics of what screen printing really is. So we bought that. It was like, I don't know, it was like $50 maybe. It really wasn't that expensive.
Oh, wow.
It came with like just a kit, no inks, no squeegee. It came with like a little plastic squeegee. And so we started with that, and you would expose it in the sun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's like, it was, you could do it, but man, it was hard, and we ruined a bunch of them, like you can't time the sun, you know what I mean? You're cloudy one day, rainy one day,
Wow.
so it was really hard to figure that out, but the part of the troubleshooting is really like what taught me how to make the screen, even on that simple, format, but we learned what the timing was and how to do it, so I was like, man, we got to, like, how can we make this better? Still using this, like, super DIY beginner kit. How can we make it better and actually do something with it? So we finally got one good stencil by. I had like my parents had the huge like stereo setup with the glass door, like the big like
Yes.
like wooden box that had like the cassette player, the
Yeah,
record
yeah,
player,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So I had a huge glass door. So I used that, took that glass door off. I went to Ace Hardware. Well, Adrian went to Ace Hardware because I couldn't leave my house, and he bought like a flood lamp with an LED bulb, and then we laid that on the floor. And then we measured with a ruler from the light down, and we said, okay, let's try 20 inches of light from here to there for 10 minutes. Turn off the light. Burn the screen. That didn't work. All right. The next day, 18 inches, whatever. For 10 minutes, the light would be this far off. Turn off the lights. And we tried like that to try to figure out, like, we can't use the sun. Let's try to figure out, like, an actual light setup. Yeah. So we finally, after I don't even know how many, we run through a bunch of them. Probably went to the whole kit at this point. It came with like 50 sheets or something.
Yeah.
Trying to get it right, and we finally got one right, which was, it was when Transformers 1 first came out. 07.
I don't remember.
It was 07.
Yeah.
And it was,
Bay, right?
we did like a silhouette of all the the Decepticons and
The Transformers.
pretty much all of them. And then that was like our first screen that we came out with. We're like, oh my god, it actually worked.
So you had did you have to change the bulb the power to like be able to burn it,
So we just got like similar to what you have here, like a shade, like an actual like a aluminum pendant lamp almost with a LED bulb.
Oh, so the LED
and just
bulb stayed
turned
the
that
same.
on. Yeah, the LED bulb just turned
I
on, and that
see.
exposed the screen. And then we would go to the sink, and it would come with like a little brush and a mesh, and you would like brush the stencil,
Right.
And the image came out. And
That's
we were
insane,
like, we made
bro.
our first screen. We were like,
That's insane, dude.
yo, this is crazy. So there's no frame like screen printing. There's a frame that keeps everything nice and tight and taut. So you can, like, when you print it, it's nice and clean. This is just a sheet of paper, so you had to like tape it on the shirt, get the little squeegee, and just like, so Adrian went to Michael's and Pearl back then, when Pearl was still around, and just bought like,
Pearls, I
we
remember.
didn't know what screen printing ink even looked like. So I was like, buy something that shows that you can print on fabric. And he just bought like acrylic paint that you could do on fabric that you can literally just, paint on a shirt. Really was not
Right.
the traditional screen printing ink, which is plastisol. It was just,
Plastisol, yeah.
they didn't sell that in the store. Speedball does have like their water-based versions for like textile printing and paper printing at like Michael's and Hobby Lobby and Pearl. But so we bought that and we started experimenting. And we're like, oh, we printed our first shirt. We got a red Gildan shirt from Michael's, and we printed one for me and one for him of the black, in black of the Transformers, and
Yeah.
we were blown away. We were like, oh my god, we made our first shirt. Like, we actually figured out how to do this. So we did a couple of those screens. I still have them in a binder of like the mesh ones that
That's
we made.
cool, man.
We did three or four different designs. And then we finally were like, all right, like, how do we do this even better? Like, what's next? So we found on eBay a kit for like $350, which was like a tabletop, 4-color, 1-station press with like 2 screens, a couple inks, like super, super basic beginner kit. And Adrian had like $800 on his credit card or something, and we bought a lot also on eBay of like blank t-shirts.
Yeah.
We found somebody selling like 10 red Gildans, random sizes, red, Kelly green Gildans, whatever, a random box of shirts. We didn't know what we were buying. We just bought the box.
Yeah.
And we just started printing those, and like, we pretty much started doing that. And then we were like, all right, let's start making like these Fresh Wisdom designs, and let's see how to do this.
I just want to say, bro, like,
Yeah.
and I sorry to cut you off,
No,
but
go ahead.
just the journey, right? Because I know there's a lot that we didn't get into.
Sure.
And there's things that there's a lot in betweens.
Yeah.
Because now we definitely be a 4-hour episode. But I think it's important to recognize like where you were at in your early 20s and the things that were in your heart that you wanted to do. That you know you wanted. I like this, but I'm not really sure what I want to do with it. And it's funny because in the 90s, a lot of us, not just guys, I'm sure girls too, but I went through that phase too, where it's like I like drawing and I didn't know. So I went into tagging. So I started tagging and I hung out with the dudes that were like doing graffiti or whatever, doing the books. And my yearbook, like if I bring it down, it's full of like dudes that left me like these pieces, you know? Xism or M6 and I forgot the other guys. But it's just incredible to see where you were at in your early 20s and the things that happened that maybe decisions that were made that not very the best. Some people end there.
Yeah, a lot.
Some people end there, dude. Yeah. Oh, I have a felony, or I was arrested, or I was in house arrest, or whatever. What is my life? What am I gonna do? And it's just super powerful to see someone like you that has an innate desire or innate talent, right? Of designing or drawing or something you wanted to express. You had an issue with law enforcement or whatever it was, but you still able to like make something happen. You had your boy like, hey, I'm in house arrest. Can you go to freaking Pearls or pick this up and let's see? But if it wasn't for you making those decisions, you would have been a whole different person. Yeah. You would have still been in house arrest, like in life, if that makes sense. You would have still been in that sort of mindset.
There's still a lot of people I know from that era and that time that are still kind of involved in the same kind of stuff. So
that's crazy.
That was my journey. That was my trajectory. Like if what didn't happen to me, I definitely wouldn't have made those decisions. And that it altered my life in a sense where like I gave my life back to God in general of like this, and he helped me get to this journey, but also I became somebody that like I had nothing else to lose. I don't have anything else.
Wow.
Aside from my family support, my friend support, I was just in my room. I could not work a physical job like anybody else.
Wow.
I can't go anywhere. I can't get a job. I can't go back to school. So like it was really out of just like necessity. Yeah. And at that moment, what happened to me is that God put into me like I just became a risk taker. I just became like. And people who know me, they constantly are like, bro, you're always doing something different. And it's just the way that I'm built now. I don't take no for an answer. And I don't think that I can't do anything. I try anything at this moment. Yeah. And if it doesn't work, it's because of me or some odd thing that happened. But I'm a firm believer in that, man. That to be honest, like, I'm not saying everybody needs to go through something tragic.
Sure.
But I do agree with the sentiment that if, tragedy brings these things. Like there's times where like people have to go through real like, rock bottom to get a little bit of kick in the butt to like figure out what to do and how to move forward. Like, and unfortunately that was for me. Like if that didn't happen to me, I guarantee you I would be either locked up or something else. I was facing 25 years per charge. I had 4 charges. I could have been in jail for a very long time.
Wow.
So if it wasn't for that, I definitely know my trajectory was not there. So I kind of never looked back. After I made that decision of just like, I got to do something, I've never like, even to this day, I'm 12 years into the business of my own business. This happened in 2007. That's how many years is that already? I can't even to 27 years.
13 plus 4. Oh my God, 4. 13 plus 4.
Yeah,
17 years.
And I still have the same mentality because I know I can't just stop what I do to go get a job. So I'm just built differently now. Like I just don't look back. I just try everything. If it works out, I go. And that's what that time did for me, really. Yeah. Like it just helped me realize that it's all up to me and all the effort that you put into. And I'm nobody special. I don't consider myself anybody special. I just figure I'm somebody that had something that happened to me that I needed to figure out how to get out of it. And to the grace of God, I was able to have supportive people to get me through it. That I was able to hone in on something and go crazy over it, that I actually got good at it. And I still, to this day, consider myself like somebody who, if I'm going to do it, I do it all the way. Anybody that knows me, they're like, oh, do this. And I'm like, no, if I don't know it, I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to learn it all the way, whether it's like building something, a piece of furniture, on a car, whatever it is. Like, I don't touch it until I geek out about it, learn it, try it. If it doesn't work, it's not for me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And that's such a good attitude to have, man. If you're going to fail, you fail, and then you just keep moving forward. You dust your feet. But it's amazing you're talking about adversity that, and I think I mentioned this in the last episode. It's like adversity or challenges, but in adversity, there's only two options. You either surrender to the adversity or you conquer the, there's like no necessarily in between, dude.
There's no in between.
And it's okay to lose sometimes. It's okay to fail, and it's okay to to have these setbacks, but you can't just stay there. You gotta, and you said you're big on community. Align or lean on the people around you to kind of help you get out of. Yeah. And I don't know if you're like me, but I hate asking for help, and I hate like me da pena like asking Adrian, hey, can you go to Michael's for me? Because it's like, but you know what? When you're like desperate or when you're like, I need something that I need to do in life, it's like you do se te va la pena. You do what you need to do to get it done. You know, which is awesome, man. It's really cool.
No, and that's why like somebody like Adrian, man, I'm eternally grateful for his friendship and who he was in my life. Because if it wasn't for that, man, I wouldn't been able, like, he believed in me in a way where nobody else did, not even myself. Wow. It gets me emotional thinking about it because it was such a crazy time in my life, and I owe it all to people like that, you know. And my journey didn't end there. Like starting Grizzly, well, we'll get to that. Was that too? Was just like I've always been connected to community and people that have uplifted me and believed in me, whether they meant to or not. I took it as these guys really believe in my vision and want to do this with me, that we were able to thrive at it, and that was like the first moment that I tasted that. That's why to this day I'm big about community, like hanging out. I'm like, let's get as many people as we can together. Like I don't go places alone. I'm still like that, you know. Like to me, the greatest hip hop groups were like that Wu-Tang. Like they had groups. There's something about community. There's something about just like-minded people getting together and building something. And I've always been that way. So that's beautiful.
There's a saying at Voodoo, and I'm trying to remember it now. If you want to go, Kari should usually correct me. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, or something like that.
It sounds right. It sounds just about right.
I don't know if I said it right. Scotty will correct me at some point.
But I
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, I want to talk about Grizzly, and I want to, because Grizzly GRZLAB. I love your shirt. There's a lot of things that this man is doing that's incredible. But Grizzly Print has been around. You said 12 years already, right?
We're going on 12. In May will be 12 years.
12 years, and so. Oh, it's coming up. So the anniversary is coming up.
May will be 12 years.
Wow, man.
We just hit, like, I'd say we just hit 10 years. Like, it was already a year and a half ago.
Let me ask you, when you started Grizzly, how many people were there? This is you?
Just me and my partner at the time, Alex. I hate to say my partner because it's like such a weird business where he's literally like my brother.
Well, it was business partner.
Yeah, it was business partner because we went into business together, but we were just two best friends that started something cool that worked out, that now we have to call ourselves business partner. He's like my brother. There's no...
And what did you start with? Like, so you're like, you decided, hey, I want to start this thing.
So after Fresh Wisdom kind of like dissipated a little bit, not for anything, you know, we just stopped kind of just doing it. I had to get a real job. House rent was getting expensive. I needed to get out of my house. So I had to get a real job, and, you know, Fresh Wisdom kind of fizzled off a little bit after a couple of years. Me and Adrian decided to stop doing it. And then I had trying to get a job in like the real world. I had a family friend that they own Mike's Pizza in Kendall. I grew up with them since I was like 3 years old. They were my neighbors, and they were awesome with me, and they didn't care. Obviously, they know me. They knew I had just messed up and, you know, needed to kind of change my life around. They gave me an opportunity to work there. So I worked at the pizzeria. I've actually got a job. The state of Florida gave me permission to work. So I was able to like get a schedule so I can be out. So they gave me I was able to get a job. And then within that job, I started working there. And then I met my now wife, Kristen. Baby, I love you. Shout out to my baby girl.
She's cool.
Yeah. So I met her, and then one day, like at a Christmas party, I meet her uncle, and she knew that I kind of did this, but she didn't know me at the time that I did it. So she's only heard of me having a clothing line at one point, but I really wasn't doing it. So I met her uncle, and her uncle had a print shop. And I was like gassed out. It was called Threefold Apparel.
An apparel.
Yeah, he had an actual screen printing shop, just like I do. Okay. So I met him, and I talked to him about it a little bit, and, you know, he really wasn't too, you know, interested in like bringing me in, because I was like, well, if you ever need a job, he's like, I don't have anybody, I don't need anybody. I was like, all right, man. So within that time, I had applied at a bunch of print shops, because I was like, man, I like this. I can't do it from home anymore. I've exceeded what I can do at home. Like, let me go get some real life experience at a print shop. Was really my first. I was not really trying to open a print shop by any means. I really was just trying to get better at the printing for my own clothing line. Really, that's really what my goal was. So I was like, if I work at a print shop, I can learn the ins and outs of printing and just get really good at it, and then I can print my own stuff and get better and get better and get better. And that wasn't happening for me. I applied at a bunch of spots, and because of my record, the moment I do my interview, I'd go over there with my portfolio and my shirts that I printed, and I give them the whole 9 yards, and they were like, awesome. They were always impressed. And at the end, they're like, yeah, by the way, your record, sorry, man, we can't. You know, the boss not gonna. You know, I like 3 or 4 places. I just couldn't get the job, so I gave up, and I was like, this is done for me. Like, I'm gonna stop here. Like, it ends for me here. Like, I just was like, I'm just gonna get a job. I'll work at the pizzeria. You know, I'll work with these guys until I can, and that's kind of where my focus was. But maybe like a year down the line of like dating Kristen, her uncle messaged her one day or told her something like, hey, if your boyfriend still needs a job, like, you know, I have something there, like, to clean screens if you want. She told me, and I was like, yes. Like, when can I go? I was like, when can I go?
Sure.
Which cleaning screens is, to be honest, is like the dishwasher of the shop.
Yeah, I know.
Unfortunately, like, it is what it is.
But
it's a necessity. It's a necessary part of the business, but it's the dirtiest one, and like, you know, most people don't like it. I really enjoyed it when I did it because it was my foot in the door.
Yeah.
And I found my peace through doing it, but most people don't like it.
Yeah, but with 20-year-old you have been a screen printer. Like, if they offer you a job.
No. So
this is amazing. That's your in. You know what I mean?
So I did get it. I'm skipping this. I did get a job at one screen printing shop. The guy hired me for one day, and I got fired the same day because I burned like 50 hoodies on the press. On the.
What do you mean burn them? Oh, you burned them on the oven?
On the oven.
Oh, shoot.
Like, caught fire.
Oh, wow.
So I went in there, and obviously I'm self-taught. Like, I learned everything like through reading on forums, dude. Like, and me practicing at home and learning on my own. YouTube was very, very like beginner, so like there was not much. There was one guy called Catspit Productions that had a couple like screen printing techniques to learn from, but that's it. There wasn't a lot. So when I went to the shop, I'm like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. The guy was like, all right, jump on this press, and you're gonna be printing these hoodies. And I'm like, all right. I wasn't gonna say no. I'm like, cool, I'll go do it. So you got experience? I'm like, yeah. I went back there. He's like, all right, you're hired. I couldn't even put the ink through the screen, dude. I was like, what the? You know, I just couldn't get it. I was like, this is hard. Like, it was a different ink. It was a real screen printing ink that I had never used. You know,
because before you were using
I was using like ink at Michael's and, you know, whatever was accessible. So this is like a real shop. So I was super nervous. And then after, you know, I didn't know how to put the shirts in the dryer. They use a conveyor dryer. I was using a heat gun. So I put this first time I ever put anything in a dryer. And when you put hoodies, they're thick, so you're supposed to flatten them. I didn't know that, so I just put them in the dryer, and then I see it backing up, and on the other side, the hoodie, the top of the hood is hitting the infrared part, and they were all burned and catching fire, and they had scorch marks all over, and the guy got super pissed, and the next day he was, hey, don't come back.
I mean,
you know,
as
but
he should, you know,
as he should. Like, I not that I fooled him with my experience. I thought I was equipped enough.
Sure,
but my journey as a screen printer really just started.
It's like that Dunning-Kruger effect, where it's like you know the least, but your confidence is at all time. Sure. Which I think, to be fair, I mean, that there is something to be said about being audacious.
Yeah, it humbled the crap out of me because I thought, not that I was being prideful, but I was like, I can do this. I know this job. Yeah. And I was like, dude, I don't know anything about this in a real shop. Like, then my mind changed of like, all right, this is a real shop now. I really got to like learn this. Like, what I know at home is the basics, and what I learned is like I know the beginning to end. Now I'm gonna use real equipment, and then I was like, whatever, that didn't work out for me. So skip again back to where I was talking about. Then I got, you know, Kristen's uncle finally, you know, Roger. Shout out to Roger, love you too. Roger. I'm gonna point out to a bunch of people that I love.
Roger, do I know Roger?
You might know Roger. He's been in the business for years. You might have worked.
I think I know Roger, dude. Did he do stuff with Pedro?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Roger.
That's my wife's uncle. My uncle too, really. Now at this point.
Wow, man. Yeah. Is he still doing it? He's still doing.
He's still doing. He's more of a broker now.
Wow. Yeah, Roger.
So he had the business for, I don't know, a little over 15 years, I think.
Yeah, and it was like in not Tammy.
It was by 3 Lakes. It was right there on 136th Street, and
yeah. Shout out to Roger, man.
Yeah, man. I love him. Honestly, he's the next one in this story who really you know, helped me. So, so he finally gave me a job there. And, you know, I started cleaning screens, and I went in the first day and I showed him all my t-shirts and all the stuff I'd done. And, you know, it was just like, all right, go clean some screens. Like, it really was not, you know, interested in what I was really working on. It was more my journey. Like, I just needed somebody to work, you know, and I really wasn't there to like start my own thing. Genuinely, I really was just trying to get better at screen printing to do my own brand. And because of the nature of the person that I was at the moment, I just wanted to learn it all. Like, I wasn't there to do anything more, but just learn everything there. So I started from cleaning screens. Then I finally was able, after a while, to get on the press. And there was an old Argentinian guy, and rest in peace, he passed away a couple years ago. Taught me a lot of like little techniques and stuff on the press, and, you know, using little shims and just little like odd stuff that like you learn on press. And he really he taught me a lot. Yeah, secrets. Old man, he was like in his 70s, dude, but he was a G at printing. You know, he didn't care about the artistic side of it, but he was a machine at printing. You tell him you needed 500 shirts in 2 hours, and he made it happen. You know, so I learned a lot working under pressure, working under the pace of him and the amount of work he put out. And I learned a lot from him on the work side of it and just learning the press. So I helped him on the press for a while, and I became a printer too there. And then I just became like the shop hand, just like doing stuff and kind of managing in a sense, dealing with all the clients when they come to pick up and, you know, dealing with like, you know, counting the shirts. And I just started like, not because I wanted to do this as a business, but it was my job now. And I loved where I was, to be honest. And I just started I started picking up on like the garments that we were using and the colors that they were available and the model numbers. And I just how I geeked out about the printing, I geeked out about that side. And like, I'll remember every model number to this day of different styles and colors and cuts and how they come in and the materials and the weights, because it's just how I am about it that I became obsessed with that part too. Like now I want to know the garments and how they feel and how they cut and what we're printing on and why we use this ink on that and why we use this placement. And I started learning like that part of it. And then I just got really good at it, man. And then it became like something that I really loved. And then
that stuff you can't learn online, dude.
You can't. It's all like, and that's what I tell guys that come through my shop that work is like, this is all on the job training. There is so much I can tell you that I can explain to you what it is, but every job is different. Every day is different. And you just have to just be able to be flexible and learn as you go. It's on the job training. There is nothing like it. You know, there's obviously other things like it, but you know, maybe working at a mechanic shop or on cars or something, you know what I mean? Every trade has its thing, and it's just learning on the job. So to fast forward a little bit, I worked there for about 3 years. I think a little bit more than 3 years, but how Grizzly started, the inception of Grizzly was, I was working there. While I was working there, I had like Fresh Wisdom still on MySpace, you know, and whatnot, and we were still like kind of promoting it a little bit. So I came across
Fresh Wisdom sounds like such a thing from its time. You know what I mean?
It was a Christian-based, you know, hip hop style streetwear brand at the time, and we were trying to like use that.
It sounds so MySpace.
It sounds super MySpace, and honestly, the name came from like at that time. I felt like I had fresh wisdom. It sounds so corny, but that's what, like, my life was changing, and I felt like I was becoming wiser, and I was like changing, and I was like, what happened there? So 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 I on MySpace, I had a friend at the time that she was dating a guy, and he reached out to me on MySpace, and he had a clothing line called Mercy Cloth that he was starting, and he was interested in just like learning how to print, and he was like, you know, trying to pick my brain on it and whatnot. I was giving him some pointers on how to learn how to print, and then one day we were just like, yo, why don't we meet up? And like, you know, he was dabbling in like photography and stuff, and he was like, yo, why don't you take some pictures for like do a photo shoot for Fresh Wisdom, and I'll, you know, in exchange, you know, I'll teach you some stuff about screen printing and, you know, whatever. So we became like really good friends, best friends, brothers, honestly. Alex, bro, I love you. Alex Perez, I'm pointing out to another one, brother.
Let's
I
go.
love you.
Let's go.
And so we became really good friends, and just like all we did was just geek out about, you know, clothes. And we came from two different worlds, two different types of apparel that we liked. He came from like the hardcore music scene, and you know, his brand was like a lot more like a little darker and edgy.
Like emo? Was
still
it emo
Christian.
at that
Not
time?
really emo, just a little bit more on the hardcore edge of like just a little bit, you know, more skulls and bats and things like that. Was like the imagery was a little bit darker, still Christ based like clothing. So we kind of met in that middle. And then as we were like just hanging out and we're just doing it together and learning, we actually were like, man, like can we like do stuff for other people? Like printing is expensive with other people. Like, you know, I work at a shop now. Like, you know, so I started bringing him over. I asked Roger for permission. Hey, can I bring Alex over? I want to, you know, print a design for him. Yeah, sure. So one day we got after hours, and I showed him a couple techniques, and we printed some of his shirts. And he's like, "Oh, this is cool." I started teaching him, you know, a little bit of printing side of it, and then a lot of people started just naturally from the past coming up and asking me like, yo, are you still like doing shirts? I heard you're like working at a shop. And I was like, yeah. He's like, can you do shirts for this? And I was like, yeah, I guess I'll try it. I'll do it at my job. And then little by little, I would like ask Roger, yo, can I stay after hours and do this one job? Yeah, sure. And they really were like a job here and there every week, you know, once in a while, you know. And we were, at that time, we were going to Calvary Chapel. And Alex was part of the sound production team there, and he was just like really involved. So
that's also in West Kendall.
No, that's more in like Coral Reef area, like by the zoo.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Kendall's debatable, bro. It could be Kendall. I don't even know anymore. I don't even know. I don't rep Kendall anymore. Homestead, baby.
Just redrawing the maps.
Yeah. So he was really involved there. So we started getting like kids ministry shirts, baptism shirts, and we were like, okay, cool, let's try it out. They were literally like giving us some stuff, and we're like, dude, like we actually started like, not only were my friends bringing me stuff, the church was bringing us stuff, and I was like, it started getting to the point where I was staying a couple days a week from 5 to 7. Then I started staying a couple days a week from 5 to 10, and then I started actually like we started actually bringing in work that were like, damn, can we actually like start a business doing this? Like, I don't want to keep overstepping my boundaries here. And I really enjoy doing this, and we kind of have our own work. So, actually have to sit down with Roger, and he's like, yo, like, we got to do something. Like, the electricity bill's going up. You've been here every day. You brought your friend here. Like, this is my shop. What are we going to do? So out of respect, I was like, let's figure it out. Like, so I started handling my clients through there as like a broker. So instead of me staying after hours printing with Alex at that time, I would just do my jobs during the day through the regular production with the other clients, and just pay him like a broker. And it started, it worked out for me.
Smart.
But I was getting a lot of work. So it was like almost like, man, I can kind of sustain this on my own. And obviously, like, I was there for a long time, and I love Roger for the opportunity that he gave me. He opened up the door for me. He taught me a lot being there, dealing with people, with clients, learning how to order stuff. Like, I really picked up how to run a business from being there, and not because I was trying to do that. It just naturally happened.
Yeah. I was going to say, there's something to be said about the people that I feel God puts in your life. There's certain pivotal people in everyone's life that propel you, or they open doors for you. And I feel like it's always important to just remember them, and remember these people that are so key to kind of exposing you or allowing you to go into certain spaces. And I feel like for me personally, it's like a handful of them, my whole career. I mean, there's a lot of people that, of course, that influenced me, but certain key people like Roger and Adrian, that allowed you to kind of, they didn't have to do that, dude. At all. They didn't have to do that, but they allowed you to come in and get the expertise and the experience, and they're like for you. You know what I mean? Which is awesome. A shout out to Roger. Yeah. It's like, I was just saying, I know Roger. I got definitely. Yeah. We're talking about Sunfest, man. I know about. I think I used to DJ that. I don't remember what I did back in those days. Yeah. I'm sure we.
It could
crossed each other at some point.
I went to one of them. I mean, we were young, so
yeah.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
KJ52 was there.
Wow. Yeah, bro. Wow.
It was a good time.
EOG, was it? EOG
might have been there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were. EOG, shout out to EOG. Love you, boys.
I know. Amber and Junior.
Yeah.
And was it Mike?
Mike,
Flaco. That's right.
Man. The Jamaican sensation. Gino. Shout out Gino.
Oh, man.
Amber.
They need a reunion.
Amber's still killing it. Junior still killing it. Mike, love you, boys.
Amber to goals right now.
Yeah, man. Not John too.
John, yeah, Trinity. I was gonna say John. I was missing
Trinity's
somebody.
Arc.
Yeah, that's right.
Man, John still out there rapping, still killing it.
That's right. Is he?
Yeah, he's still rapping.
Shoot.
Yeah.
I gotta
follow him on
check
Instagram.
him out. I gotta check him out on MySpace. Gotta check him out on Spotify.
Bro, MySpace, man. I love MySpace.
So you're doing the brokerage, right? Which is really smart move, by the way, because in that way you don't necessarily need to do like the tactical aspect. You kind of just lead them, and then during the day you can do that, and you just break off Roger, right, for the time, which is smart. Yeah. And then from there, how did you?
So from there, I was while I was working there, I was still actually working at the pizzeria. I was working 2 jobs.
Oh, nice.
I was still struggling, really. Like, it wasn't like I was learning this, but I still had a part time at the pizzeria. I was doing both. I was working literally all day. I would work at threefold till 5 or something, and then I work at the pizzeria till they close, and sometimes I do both. And so I finally left the pizzeria to do, at threefold full time with Roger. And then while I was there picking up those like contacts, man, like the timing was like perfect, not only obviously, meeting my amazing wife, and then being able to like meet Roger and him to get me into, it's the foot in the door kind of into like learning the print industry in a sense. My brother at the time was moving to Georgia, and he had a small little warehouse down the street, small little 600 square foot warehouse. He was building motorcycles out of it, like little cafe racers and bobbers. It was just him and his friends were doing that for a while. And then he was taking off to Georgia, and he was like, hey, I have this warehouse, and I need to get, I'm going to give it back to the guy. So I sat down with Alex, and I'm like, dude, maybe we can get the warehouse and like see what we can do with it. And like, I don't know, see if that's an option of us like actually buying a press and doing something. It seemed really far stretched, but nothing was far stretched for me at the moment. Sure. Everything that I like put my mind to, I really wanted to do. And as corny as that sounds and as cliche as that is, like, I really was like that. If I thought about it, I wanted it to come to fruition. I'm going to try to do it. And if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. So I was like, let's try it. And Alex really was pivotal in being somebody who, again, the next person who believed in me, trusted my vision, and partnered with me into like, we can actually do something. And From there, it was like the next, tag team. Alex was the next person that partnered with me to like help me, create Grizzly. So what we did was we finally talked to my brother. He came in with the landlord, and I'm like, okay, what is the rent? Like, we didn't even sign a lease or nothing. We're just like, with cash, we got the place. It was an empty warehouse. My brother got rid of it. I'm like, all right, we shared it at first with somebody who was, storing some stuff in it, like half of the space. And then I was like, this ain't working. We need the whole space,
Right.
So we got rid of that fast. And then actually Roger was buying an automatic press. The timing was just like, it was God's timing.
Automatic, and so everything was manual.
He had two manual presses. An M&R Chameleon, which is like one of the most sought after manual presses. And he was getting rid of it to get the automatic press. And it was literally at the time that I was getting this warehouse.
Beautiful.
And like super nervous, brought up to him, and I'm like,
how many colors was it, the manual one?
I still have it to this day. It's still my.
It's a 4-color.
It's a 6-color.
Oh, it's a big
station.
one, dude.
Yeah, 6-color 4-station.
Oh wow, you went in.
Yeah.
Usually, like I mean, you started with like a couple colors.
Yeah, that was. It was a big move, and it took our whole warehouse for the most part for what we had. But
it's not the same space, right? That you have now.
No, this was our first space. Same press. I still have that press.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, dude, I'll sell it to you." And I was like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, he was nice enough to sell it to me. And we bought it, we took it apart, we took it over there, we set it up, and then, we were like, all right, how do we do this? Can we really make this happen? And we had multiple nights of going to Flanagan's and going to Sharpshooters to play pool and, just brainstorm, honestly, we took those nights to think, and I would take my notepad with me at Flanagan's, and he would be like, all right, what do you think we need? And I was like, all right, we need a press, we need this many screens, we need this much ink, how much you think that's going to cost? He entrusted in me, and like I knew the business side of it. He wanted to get into it, but he didn't work in it, so he was like, you tell me what we need and we'll figure it out.
Right.
So I put together a list of like every couple of days we'd go, and I'd add more to the list until one day I was like, I think we're done. Like, I think there's everything we need. He's like, how much do we need? And I'm like, I don't know, about 10 grand. He's like, all right. And Alex funded it, man. And Alex was like, partnering with him, he helped me get my vision and my dream to the next step.
Amazing.
He was so excited about it as well, and on it with me, that we were on the same playing field, where we were like just perfectly aligned at that moment.
Yeah.
And he really, like, for somebody to drop that kind of money on something that is like a crazy dream,
Sure.
was wild. And again, that's another person that I'm to this day super grateful for, God putting him into my life. I consider him my brother as well. Shout out to Alex again. I love you for a second time. Because he helped me, really, really, really do that. And like, we were gassed on it. So we were like, all right, let's do it. So we just started buying stuff and building it. And like, he was still working full time at Calvary. He was on the production team. So he was working like regular church schedule, like a lot,
Yeah.
And I would work at Rogers, clock out at 5. And then at 5, I drive to what became Grizzly. And we stayed there from 5 till 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning. Every single day I worked 2 shifts as we just did more and more and more, and practice and burn screens and do one job, mess it up, fix it, and just learn, with each other, and apply what I was learning and bring in things that he wanted to try. And we just bounce off each other, and, we really just created something from there.
Yeah.
And then it just never stopped, to be honest.
That's amazing,
I just kept going, you know what I mean? And Grizzly became a thing out of like 2 friends that had a fun thing of putting their brands together and then wanting to do it for somebody else, like print for other people. And we just were like, we took the things that we didn't like about the industry and the things that people were doing that we wanted to do differently, and we just made it something, and it just naturally just became something, not because we were entrepreneurs or just wanted to be business owners. We just wanted to do something cool and give it back to people and do something different that other people weren't giving us as printers on the print side. Print side has always been very like hard, and like, they don't share secrets, and unless you work at a shop, you don't learn anything.
Gatekeeping, right?
Yeah,
That's what it's
super
called.
gatekeeping community. And we came into it being like, we want to be opposite of this. Like, we want to share things. We want to have like an open day, people can come. We want to do workshops. That's why we used to do work, things like that. We wanted to be opposite, and I think that's what people saw and showed love for us for that we were able to take it to where we take it. That like,
and that's the difference between. And I feel like because I know Vu's had you do certain live events, and other friends of ours, Grizzly's always there doing live events. That's the difference I feel between like industrial print shop versus like a craft.
Yeah.
And when you think craft, you think Grizzly Print, and as far as like industry and like things that are churned out, you think of these like big companies that I don't want to say soulless, but I want to say that they don't necessarily care about the details are things that matter.
To be fair, they're in it for the printing business.
Sure.
And that's okay.
And that's fine too.
That's fine.
That's fine.
There is a demographic for that.
That's fine.
There is a world that is just the printing business, and they thrive, and that's amazing. That's just not me. I'm like I still do it with the same grassroots. That's why
there's value. That's why there's value to that. You know what I mean? It's important what you do. You know what I mean? And it's so exciting for what Grizzly, like the story where you've been to where you are now and what you continue to do. Yeah. And it's just really cool that it's, I don't know. I still think it's it automatic, the machines, or you have two?
We have a manual press and automatic press.
Right. I feel like the manual press is like the OG. You know what I mean?
I love it. As much as the automatic press, you know, and I get hate on this from the screen printing community for sure, but as much as the automatic press is beautiful and it like can do production and whatever, I despise it. It's just not for me. Like I'm a manual guy. I love the twerks of like, you know, I like to wrench on stuff and move and tweak and do stuff, and the auto you could, but it's just a lot. It's more automated, so it's like turn it off.
Production. It's more like production.
Yeah, it's just production. So it does its job. It works for us. It's amazing. I don't really operate it. I'm a manual guy. You know, my guys kill it at the auto. Josh, shout out to Josh. I love you. He runs the auto. I don't really mess with the auto too much. It's not. I ran it at threefold for a little bit. I learned with it at the one he had there. It does the job. It's just, it's not. If I go back to the reason why I like it, why I like printing,
sure,
it takes away the craftsmanship of it.
Yeah, I understand.
So there's a place for it, but it's not.
So now it's
not my favorite.
Yeah, I get you, and I agree with you 100%. Now that we're at Grizzly arrived, and I'm gonna skip like I'm gonna skip some of like how do you get clients and all that stuff because that's I feel like everyone talks about that, but I do want to know it's like just a couple things. One is like what would you say is one of the biggest challenges or hurdles that you had to overcome when you're at Grizzly? Let's just say we'll fast forward the early years, right? Because the early years are tough already, getting clients, paying the bills or whatever. Sure. But what would you say is one of the challenges that sticks out to you the most in your 12 years, which happy anniversary, right, coming up?
Thank you.
What's one of those the biggest challenges that sticks out to you?
I think if I think about right now, you know, where I'm at, and it's the challenge is having fun with it while running a business for me, to be honest. Like, again, I'm not in it as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. We were two guys that had fun that started a business that now had to figure out how to run a business. Yeah. And that's hard. You know what I mean? Like, it really is hard. And Alex really helped mold me into like seeing business as not that he was a business person before that, but he just helped me see things differently that we were able to figure out how to make a business out of it. But the most challenging thing for me is like learning how to balance running a business and just wanting to do fun stuff. Because if it was for me, I'd be bankrupt from all the fun stuff I want to do in my own shop. I have my own printing shop at my disposal, you know, so I would love to do just stuff for myself all day long, but I'd go bankrupt. So honestly, Alex gave me saying for a lot of that time was like, no, we can't do that. We got to do that. And with reason, you know what I mean? So that is still one of the challenges to this day is that like, my mind is always moving and always evolving, and I always want to do something new and something fun.
Same.
And I really would be in debt tremendously. And I've been I'm obviously not like that, and I don't do that, but I could be. I could be.
You got to tame it.
Yeah, I got to tame it. You know, it's a constant control. So that's to me the hardest thing because it gets repetitive. You know, it gets repetitive, and that's the honesty of running a business. Like it's brutal. You know, doing the same thing over and over again. You know, some jobs are just like whatever. So I really make it a point to have fun when there's something that comes in that blows my mind, whether it's a print or a design or a placement or a new shirt we're using. And I try to get as hands-on as I can with it because that's, you know, I personally don't print anymore. You know, my guys are amazing. Shout out to Louis. I love you. He's been with me for 8 years now. Louis too. Louis is a beast. My guys kill it at printing. So like I don't really do much printing anymore, so I have to find other avenues to get excited about. Really,
get excited.
This long in 12 years in,
and keeping essentially keeping the soul
of it,
like really. And the why as to why you do it because it can get bananas.
It could, and you know my guys are on the same page with me. Like they treat it the same way, so
that's great.
But for me, like since I'm not doing that part of it, like I have to find other avenues to keep me wanting.
Probably like doing events, right?
Yeah, so doing events is amazing for me. It's hard work
with the van, which by the way, I gotta put a link. I'll put all the links that we talked about. Silkscreen 101. I'll probably put a link in the description because there's a lot of things that we mentioned. You're like, what is a screen print or whatever? Exactly. So we'll put that there. That's a whole. But the van though, the van is so sick, man. So which I know that's kind of part of like the soul of the brand. You know,
it is. So I mean, like so GRZLAB is is my life printing setup that we do. It's kind of like, you know, Josh said it best, like it's the ACG to Nike almost. It's like the outdoor version of Grizzly. It's like
Nice.
Grizzly coming to you, the outdoor version of we're printing at your location, at your event or whatever.
Love that.
And we love doing it. Like, it's hard work, and it's usually on weekends or days off, and like, I love it because it's my opportunity to mingle with people and geek out with people on the print side of it and show people that, you know, people don't know what still to this day how
craft.
shirts are made at some level. So the fact that you give them something and they're like, they look at their shirt like, this is how mine was made. Like, yeah, same thing. And they're like blown away. That still gives me, you know, amazes me. So I still love doing that. As hard as it is and as taxing as it is on my body and time and energy, I still do that. And that keeps me excited about it. So those are ways that I find to like get out of the funk of like where it's hard, man. Like running a business is hard, dealing with clients is hard, you know, invoicing people is hard. Like none of that is easy.
Yeah.
You know, checking emails all day is hard. I'm gonna go back to work on Monday after 2 weeks, and I'm gonna be checking some emails. I got a couple hundred of them. So
Yeah.
it's hard, but it's a part of it. So I'm not complaining by any means, but those are the parts of the business that are that for me are particularly challenging. Like I can deal with people, I can handle people. I'm a people person, so I'm not the people part don't bother me. It's more of just, you know, keeping it something that I still want to do 12 years in and keep it excited, you know, because I honestly am going to do this for the rest of my life. I'm not getting a job anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. Man. So I have to every couple of years not reinvent myself, but find something that is exciting that keeps me pumped. And right now I have so many things in the works that we're working on that I'm hyped this year to
let's
keep
go,
going.
man.
So,
you know, my next question was going to be like, what would be like a high and a low? But I feel like you already explained that. Like the low is sort of the grind and getting that monotonous.
Yeah.
And you correct me if I'm wrong. That would be like a low of like running this business. But a high is like the teaching aspect of it, where your people are able to see what it is and the craft that goes into doing silkscreen on apparel or like on paper goods or something like that, which is really cool.
Showing that to people is still amazing. It's still what I love about it the most. You know what I mean? It's just getting people to see what they can do with it and actually them succeed at it is amazing to me. Like that's still.
If somebody were to, I mean, starting a business at any point, it's difficult for anyone, and depends also on the economy and what's going on in the nation that you're in or whatever. Two questions for you. One is, would you recommend, say, a young designer that wants to get into silkscreen printing? Would you recommend the industry? And two is, if so, like how do you even start? Like if I'm somebody that I don't know anything, I can design, you know, I know your journey, how it was, but that's not my story. Like how can I get into something like that? What advice would you give them to get into silkscreen printing? You
know, being in it so long, I think that there's a couple of things that like a lot of people had the same idea that I had, where like you can do it all, and you could do it all. You could be a good designer, you could learn how to screen print, you could learn how to run a business. It's all possible. But a lot of people see the end result and don't realize the amount of work that it takes. And so I get a lot of people that come in through my doors where like they're either good designers and they want to be printers, and the moment they touch a screen, they're like either they're not good, to be honest, or they're just not sold on learning the technique and the craft. It really is something that you have to like really hone into learning. It's not, design is one thing and printing is a whole nother thing. And then, you know, apparel is a whole, you know what I mean? Like, so I think, man, getting into it is like perfect one thing and then try the next one. You know what I mean? Because I do, you know, very few people can do them all well, or love to do them all well. You know what I mean? Like, and it's okay to be like, I like screen printing, but maybe I could be an apparel designer specifically. There's many guys that thrive at it. Fricks is one. Fricks is an amazing
love Fricks.
Designer. You know, he's never once that I know want to be a screen printer.
Right.
Maybe he did, but he's amazing at design, and he does apparel design. And you know, why get into both? You know, like there's people that can thrive at it, and there's okay to be an amazing printer and not be a designer. I know plenty of guys that are amazing printers that don't know anything about design, and that's okay too. So I think the misconception is that getting into it is that like you could do it all, and there's not that there's anything special, but my adversity got me to that, and not everybody is willing to take that grind to learn all of it and like go through all of it and build all of it to be really good at it. So I guess to me that's like a thing that I see a lot.
That's good.
And I rather like, not that I rather, but it to me it's like, man, just be amazing at that one thing. And if you can do them all, then do them all. And there's guys that have come through my doors that have done them all and they've been really good at it. You know what I mean? Niching
down is always a good. There's nothing you can't go wrong when you niche down. You know what I mean? Well, let me rephrase that, because people are going to be like, oh, well, what about? I mean, when you niche down, it's actually good. You're becoming a master of a trade. And if you want to learn other skills after that, you can.
But move on to it after. Move to the next one after.
Master something before you
don't try to do them all at one time. Don't skip the steps. A lot of people try to skip steps.
It's that phrase, what is it? Jack of all trades and master of none.
Yeah,
and
it's true, man.
And you can fall into that trap, especially nowadays with the way things are. It's like you want to do everything. I know I have that issue. It's like with God as a designer, with my brand, it's like I want to do everything. And God, if it wasn't for Gotti and Chris Doe and like people that are more business savvy than me, I want to release a bunch of stuff and I want to do a bunch of, but then I would not make any money. You know, it's like you got to be business savvy and sort of be grounded, you know, in that way. So that's good. That's good. I feel like don't know if I've niched down. I niched down to doing logo design and stuff, but like I'm a graphic designer. I'm not an apparel. I don't consider myself an apparel designer, even though I do.
You do amazing apparel design, but you use your great logo design.
Right. That's what I feel where I'm at. And I just kind of, then the other stuff that I kind of learn, but you learn as you go. But yeah, man, that's really good. I have a couple more because we're almost out of time, but we already answered how you stay creative, giving advice, highs and lows. I guess the last thing would be, how do you stay motivated to do this for the rest of your life? Like, what is it that motivates you to want to do 40 years from now?
The reality when I think back to just having the conversation of what happened to me in 2007 is that like there's no going back for me. Like I really don't have another option. Nobody's going to just hire me out of the blue. Sure, I can go now with my experience and maybe they don't care about my Felony record and I can go manage a shop somewhere. I can probably do that, but I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? I'm not in it for that, you know? So that's what keeps me doing it, man. Like I really don't have another option to look back at. So since I know that and it's engraved in me, I don't ever think that there's something different for me to do. I just think of how can I continue to elevate this and move this to the next step. And that's why I do stuff like GRZLAB. That's why, you know, like what I'm thinking now and things that I want to do, like Grizzly's not done. We're just like,
let's go.
We're 12 years in, but really COVID stopped us. But I think, you know, at the trajectory that we were at, you know, every 2 or 3 years, me and Alex were reinventing what we were doing and taking the next risk and, you know, taking the next step from buying the first machine to then buying the auto to moving to a bigger place. Like, that's not ending for me. It's just, you know, times have been rough with COVID and things like that. But, you know, I have dreams of having a huge workspace, a studio space where I can, you know,
beautiful,
rent out, you know, maybe some sections for people to learn how to screen print inside of Grizzly. You know what I mean? Where it's accessible to people. I do get people all the time that want to learn, that want workshops, that just want to come in and like shadow or look. And I don't have the space now to do that. You just be in my way. But my dream would be to have a spot big enough where I can have Grizzly running, you know, as efficient as possible and have a little corner for some studio spaces that people can rent out weekly, monthly, that people just want to come and learn. They can use our screens, our equipment, have a small setup, like just to continue the community and continue to like teach people. I have the big enough space for it. I would love to do it and host more events, host more workshops.
Beautiful. I'm excited.
You know, the GRZLAB stuff is moving along amazing. That's the next thing. That's like, we've always done live printing for like 10 years, but I decided to like rebrand it as its own thing because what I was realizing a lot when I was doing some events, people don't correlate the two. They just see us there and they're like, oh, I'm like, oh, I have a print shop. We do regular stuff if you need it. And they're just like, oh, but can you come to my party? Like they don't ever correlate the two. Sure. So I was like, man, like for it to be fun for me, rebranding is fun. Doing a new logo was fun. Doing a new look was fun. Changing it, making a new look for Grizzly as GRZLAB was fun. So I took that opportunity to like, all right, let me just do something different with this and like brand it as its own thing. So since people don't correlate together anyway, and have some fun with it. And I can push out new designs and new colorways and stuff that I don't get to do that is the look of Grizzly. Now I can use it as Grizz. And it's just a new way of like the next thing that's keeping me excited, you know?
Let's go, bro.
So that's the visions that where Grizzly, you know, should be headed. And then, you know, working with like I was mentioning, you know, Roz is a new brand that I'm working on. That's with my buddy Baghead. I love you.
Baghead.
Andy Flores, our fellow friend. Love you too, brother.
Andrew.
That is us three, which I consider a pretty big powerhouse to do something fun that we're going to be doing. And that's the next thing for this year that I'm super excited about. So
let's go, man.
I can't wait to get that happen and make these guys work.
Well, Mr. Algaze, we did it. Let's give it up.
Beautiful.
Guest house. Shout out to Chris Algaze. All gaze, all blaze, all day. from Grizzly Print Parlour. Now's your opportunity to plug as much as you want. What do you want to plug? What do I have here? GrizzlyPrint.com. We're going to put it in the description, right?
GrizzlyPrint.com. That's our website. You can
GRZLAB.com.
I don't have the GRZLAB.com yet. We're going to have a page on our website. We're working on updating the website at the moment. We have a GRZLAB page on Instagram. Gotcha. So GRZLAB on Instagram. Raza, this is Raza on Instagram.
Let's go. We'll put it all in the description.
Yeah, we'll put it all in the description. Those are the three things that I'm super passionate and working on at the moment. So check us out on Instagram, follow us there, and look forward to a couple of things. I'll be working on a little docuseries soon as well.
Let's go.
I'm gonna be visiting some shops and just like geeking out with them about some techniques and stuff. That's the next
amazing,
thing. So
dude.
I need a team. So you guys want to build a team with me together? Let's do it.
You need interns. You need junior associates, assistants for the cafecito. And a shout out to Vicky Bakery. Before we go, I have something for you.
Oh, wait. I got something for you too. Wait,
you got something for me?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's see.
It's a little something. Yours is probably better.
Yeah, bro. Let me see.
Some little GRZLAB keychains.
Oh, let's go. Here, show the camera. Show the camera.
Here you go. For you, Gotti, right here.
Let's go. This is for. Oh God.
Boy!
I know you like dad hats.
Thank you, dog.
This is the boys. A boys' night, bro. Boys' night. I love this, man.
This is sick.
Thank you.
Is this
silicone? Yeah, silicone, man. Silicone print.
Shout out to the silicone print.
Let's go. Dude, I love this. Well, that's it, guys. Send some love to Chris on Instagram and leave us a comment. Any questions you may have. He'll probably jump in on YouTube and answer some of those. I'm already committing you to answer questions on the comments. We'll see you next time. Keep making beautiful things. And don't forget, the best things are always made in-house. See ya.
Thank you for joining Made in House. On your way out, if you would be so kind to follow, subscribe and or like our episode in the relevant social media platforms. Feel free to share this episode with your colleagues. And, as always, keep making beautiful things.